Myanmar, and this has been a major talking point for a very, very long time. And now we have this ruling at the Gauteng division of the High Court in Pretoria, setting aside this decision by the National Conventional Arms Control Committee, the NCACC, to authorize arms sales to this war-torn country.
Exactly. So this is about an application that the South Africa Litigation Center filed in October 2022 with respect to developments in Myanmar, especially the developments in 2016 and 2017, and afterwards, where we had the UN expert reports concluding that there are reasonable grounds to believe that genocide or serious human rights violations have been committed, especially in Rakhine State, against the Rohingya people. And throughout the years, we had the International Criminal Court authorizing an investigation for crimes against humanity in Myanmar. We had the International Court of Justice issuing provisional measures, as it did now in the Palestine matter, in the South African case. And with respect to the case of Myanmar, it issued similar provisional measures in relation to potential breaches of the Genocide Convention. And on top of that, in February 2021, we had a military coup that took over the power in the country. And from there on, the human rights situation in the entire country just deteriorated from there. So that's what we set out in our application. And at the same time, we set out the arms exports from South Africa to Myanmar from 2017 to 2021 and argue that those authorizations were not in accordance with domestic law and international law. And the court order in that regard agrees with us to the degree that it specifically addresses the export permits that were granted with respect to Myanmar in 2021. But the court also declared that the NCACC, the committee that is in charge of issuing these arms permits, has an obligation to suspend any permit, contract or export permit that has to a country if that country has experienced an unconstitutional change of government, meaning if there has been a military coup, or if there's that country is reasonably suspected by a UN mandate holder that international crimes like war crimes or genocide have been committed. So in that regard, this order ensures that if there are any valid permits out there that apply in these two situations, those permits must be suspended.
Yes, and also, Dr. Atilla, arms sales in general are a very contentious issue, and particularly looking at what this application could actually mean for a country like South Africa. What consequences? What are the implications for South Africa? Because Myanmar is not the only country in terms of arms sales and arms exports. South Africa obviously supplying arms to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. We've seen the war crimes that were committed in Yemen, and it's not only about Yemen, but it is many other countries right across the entire world. So this application and a final ruling would have consequences and serious implications.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like you said, there are different other countries on the list of South Africa's arms exports, and if those countries fall under those two situations, those permits would have to be suspended as well. Just to clarify on the order is actually just reflecting what has already been law in South Africa, the National Conventional Arms Control Act. So the order is in line with the law, and it's actually just highlighting certain aspects and certain scenarios in that regard. So it ensures that no permits, no arms exports should go to countries that are accused of having committed international crimes. Otherwise, we must also be aware that South Africa could create complicity in those international crimes if arms really end up in the authorities that are committing these kind of crimes. So we have to be very careful that South Africa is not developing, my apologies, a double standard when it comes to arms exports, and where we close our eyes for certain countries, and in other situations we are very outspoken and championing the human rights of the people in the country.
In fact, you raise a very, very important point, Dr. Atilla, in terms of being selective as far as who to deal with, who not to deal with, who to criticize, who not to criticize, who to take action against, who not to take action against. And clearly, this is an eye opener. And the South African government needs to take serious note of what you've just said.
I think so. And the order speaks for itself, I think. And again, the order is also further in line with what the president in his inauguration speech has highlighted, that the GNU parties are actually committed to pursue a foreign policy that's based on human rights, solidarity, and peace. This was later on even highlighted by Minister Lamola, who said that highlighted the importance of a fair application of international law for all. So the order is in line with that commitment, and going forward, it just ensures that South Africa keeps its promise of pursuing a foreign policy guided by human rights and international law, as arms exports always are in close connection to contribute to foreign policy and cannot be separated. And in the case of Palestine, we have seen how detrimental and how damaging these kind of arms exports can be.
Dr. Atilla, I'm going to put you on hold. I need to pay some bills. We're going to go for a quick ad break. We'll be back.
Thanks so much.
Akika and Kurbani requirements. We offer clean, hygienic abattoir style and refrigeration facilities. Sheep, goats, and cows are available at competitive market-related prices, direct to the public. We slaughter, slice, and distribute in your behalf. But that's not all. Introducing Meatmasters Halal Butchery, our sister company situated on our farm in Lenasia. Unbeatable prices on lamb, beef, and chicken. Lenasia Livestock and Poultry. Livestock is our business. We are Sanha approved. Telephone 011 857 1774. Call now.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with Penny Appeal organizations in Gaza.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, buckies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Are you planning a wedding, birthday party, corporate event, or any special occasion? Kani's Catering Services got you covered. Our catering services are here to elevate your event to unforgettable heights. From tantalizing appetizers to mouth-watering main courses and desserts, our culinary creations are crafted with passion and precision to delight your guests' taste buds. Our spit braai is a talk of the town. Indulge in succulent, tender meats, slow roasted to perfection over an open flame. Kani's Catering Services chefs bring creativity and expertise to every dish they prepare, ensuring that each bite is a culinary masterpiece. We take care of your guests while you relax and enjoy every moment of your function. Whether it's plated meals to a simple buffet, we are on top of it all. Ready to start planning your perfect event? Get in touch with us today to discuss your catering needs and request a personalized quote. Let us take your event to the next level with our exceptional catering services. Kani's Catering Services, situated at number 373 Jabund Lovo Street, Pietermaritzburg. Call now 033 342 3511 or email us on info@kanis.co.za for Pietermaritzburg and surrounding areas only. Visit www.kanis.co.za.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Well, the time is just gone 8:22 a.m. as we continue our discussion this morning with Dr. Atilla Kisla, International Justice Cluster Lead, Southern Africa Litigation Center, the High Court ruling the illegality of South Africa's arms sales to Myanmar. Dr. Atilla, just to continue from where we left off, and we all know of the power of the military-industrial complex and right across the entire world. And this is not only unique to South Africa. There is just so much money to be made by this industry or through this industry. And we've seen it over and over again. High levels of criticism are leveled against this industry, particularly in the case where it leads, like you mentioned, to genocide, to suffering. We know what has happened in Yemen. We know the abject poverty where we see large parts of the country and population requiring humanitarian assistance, humanitarian crises. We've seen it in many countries in and around Africa as well. And again, you know, you made the point about foreign policy, which is one thing, the other being economic policy, because there is a lot of money that is to be made. For example, this article I'm looking at speaks about 9.2 billion approved arm exports by South Africa to Saudi Arabia and the UAE since 2015.
No, certainly. It is an important economic aspect. However, at the end of the day, the law decides which kind of permits and which kind of arms exports should be authorized. And the law is quite clear, the National Convention on Arms Control Act, in that regard, that South Africa, the committee who is in charge of those permits, actually must avoid transferring arms to a country that's systematically violating human rights or not adhering to international law. So that's why I said the order is reflecting the already what's law in South Africa. So at the end of the day, economic interests cannot outweigh humanitarian interest and the human rights and South African law. So in that regard, one has to abide by the law, and the permits have to reflect that. So that's why I think the court also agreed with us and declared that in a situation where we have a military coup or reasonably suspected commission of international crimes, that those permits must be suspended.
Yes. How do you think, Dr. Attila, South Africa is going to respond to this ruling of the court, particularly in terms of suspension of existing contracts and export permits?
I think as the order is in line with the stated commitment by the GNU parties to pursue a foreign policy based on human rights, I would wish and hope that the government note of the order, of course, and going forward acts accordingly with respect to the suspension of permits and any future arms exports. I'm with respect to the issue of double standard in the past. And how actually South Africa presented itself, especially since the beginning of the year, and actually championed standing up for the human rights of the people of Palestine. And I'm not saying that South Africa should stop doing that, but South Africa should apply the same commitment, the same championing for other situations, like the situation in Myanmar, like the situation you mentioned in Yemen, and other situations. So we just expect the government to apply its standards of human rights and international law consistently.
Yes, and also it's important to note that the government is not blind to this fact because you submitted as the NCACC to Parliament, you submitted detailed reports which actually highlight what we are talking about.
Exactly. So the NCACC, the committee that is in charge, reports periodically to the parliament, and the parliament sees the exports that are going out. In that regard, as the committee is obliged to do reporting to parliament under the National Conventional Arms Control Act, it fulfills its function. However, with the reporting, one must say that the reporting usually is like quite delayed. So if we would, the reports, for instance, for the last quarter of the year would only be presented in Parliament around April or May in the next year. So by then we have the logistical issue that already the arms have left the country and the export permits have already been acted upon. So that's why, in that regard, one would wish for like a faster procedure in order to increase the transparency.
What has been the response of the government to your reports? I'm sure there must be certain levels of engagement between the NCACC and the government.
We have not heard back anything from the government yet since the order was issued. So we are still waiting for a response, and I'm sure in the next few days or weeks we will see how the government and especially the NCACC has read the order and what their next steps will be.
Well, Dr. Atilla, thank you very much for that and also for taking time out this morning with us right here on Salam Media to unpack this very, very important development. And I'm sure it is going to have implications, it's going to have consequences. But for that, we thank you once again. All the best to you, sir.
Thanks so much for having me.
Dr. Atilla Kisla was us this morning against the court ruling that could have implications for South Africa in terms of arms exports. And we are talking about Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and these are countries that have also been accused of committing war crimes in Yemen. And this comes against the background of South Africa supplying arms to Myanmar between 2017 and 2021. And it is clear that these arms sales need to be suspended, particularly to countries that are engaged in coups, in war crimes, in genocide, and crimes against humanity. The time is just headed for 8:30. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We'll continue.